Does Florida have a max capacity?
This is not what Floridians want.
You're probably going to see the point where Florida is completely built out.
Water use would double by 2070.
We've seen growth through the years, but it's never been at this pace.
Whose job is it to manage growth as a state?
No one.
We're gonna lose our identity.
We are in a very vulnerable position right now.
My name is Chad Crawford. For the past 15 years, I've introduced viewers to Florida's wild beauty. But right now, the paradise we know and love is being threatened like never before.
We are way better than this.
Join me as I meet the men and women fighting for our future. We'll dive headfirst into the environmental challenges threatening our way of life. This is our paradise. It's time to stand together to protect what we love. Welcome to Florida, the land of sun and sand, where over 1,000 people move here every day, making us one of the fastest growing states in the country. Seems we can't widen roads or build houses fast enough. My question is, how do we continue to grow and, quite frankly, not pave over our paradise?
Wow. I am lost.
A few years ago, I read a report that really got my attention. It was called the Florida 2070. This report predicted our future growth, development, and water needs into the year 2070, which is not that far away. The report was created at the University of Florida's GeoPlan Center. I'm here to meet a few of the key people involved in that report. Peggy Carr was a principal investigator. Vivian Young oversaw communications.
Peggy, when you started putting this information together, were you a little shocked?
Yes and no. I mean, I think we were aware of what a threat the state faced, but as we began to map it, we were a little surprised at how aggressive development might become.
The report relied on geographic information systems technology to analyze data to predict growth trends across our state.
What was the overall findings of this report?
If we keep developing the way we do until 2070, more than a third of Florida's lands would be developed. We really wanted people to visualize what different decisions mean for the future of Florida.
Those visuals include maps that offer a glimpse into our future. First, Peggy showed me a baseline scenario map reflecting development areas for 2010. Then she compared that with a trend scenario map that predicts Florida's future development into the year 2070.
Wow.
It's frightening, isn't
I mean, seeing all of that red.
Essentially, many of our counties would be fully built out.
Yeah.
There would be either conservation lands or developed lands.
This is that image for me that really rocked me.
We need to recognize that population growth is going to occur, but how can we manage that without losing all that we love about Florida?
For some perspective, in the 1950s, Florida's population really started to boom, reaching 7.8 million in the year I was born. Fast forward to 2023, we're at 22.6 million, and the report predicts we'll hit 33.7 million residents by 2070. That's an additional 11 million people on top of our current population who will need a place to live and water to drink.
Knowing what you know and seeing this map, does Florida have a max capacity?
Florida probably does have a maximum capacity. You're probably going to see the point where Florida is completely built out. We'll have protected lands and we'll have developed lands and nothing else. When we reach that, we will have reached max capacity.
Central Florida, with its sprawling development patterns and explosive projected growth, will see some of the biggest impacts.
The 2070 report, it's going to see that basically along the I-4 corridor, we're going to grow together from one super city from Daytona to St. Petersburg. We're going to grow in greater amounts along our coast and expose more people to potential damage from hurricanes.
I wasn't as shocked about the land conservation aspect of it as I was over the water. I was completely floored with the water results.
When it comes to water, the report had an alarming prediction. The The 2010 baseline had Florida's water usage at 3.1 billion gallons of water a day. By 2070, our water needs are predicted to rise to 6.4 billion gallons of water every single day.
Under the trend scenario, water use would double by 2070, which is completely unsustainable.
The good news is the report included an alternative scenario, showing a better, smarter way to grow.
In this alternative map, we accommodated the same number of people in this. We did that by increasing the development density. In this alternative, we anticipated that we would be able to protect a lot more of our critical conservation lands and be able to essentially protect the Florida Wildlife Corridor.
Peggy was instrumental in the early development of the Florida Wildlife Corridor, which is a patchwork of undeveloped land stretching from the Everglades up to the Panhandle. This open land protects our wildlife, surface waters, food sources, and even our air quality.
That idea of smart growth isn't just a matter of packing people in, but it improves their quality of life, whether it's walkability, it's community connections. So we think it could be a win-win situation. If we grow to a population of 33.7 million and we don't change our ways, it's unsustainable.
Scary image.
Scary image, and we need to do something about it.
When I'm in the studio working, I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just trying to make beautiful brushstrokes. Growing up in Polk County, we had a lot of space to run, and it was a very small, tight-knit community. I started painting when I was 13. I was just really inspired by the beauty of the land here. I get a little discouraged because things are changing so quickly. I think there's a little bit of concern that we're gonna lose our identity.
Blair Updike is an artist, activist, and small-town mayor.
Just love the volume and the movement of them running through this big open field.
Polk is the fastest growing county in Florida and the 5th fastest in the country. And as Blair drove me around, signs of growth were everywhere.
We've seen growth through the years, but it's never been at this pace.
Well, Polk County is a large geographical area between Orlando and Tampa. For many years, it was the hub of Florida agriculture. So all that's changed as this area has been squeezed by both Orlando and Tampa, and now it's being absorbed into both metropolitan areas.
This has all been cleared, and on the other side, they've already cleared and moved all the earth and everything too.
You can see houses, kind of the line out this way, and that's coming towards us here.
Yep, so the sprawl line's just above us on the next property up.
Blair first takes me to what she calls the sprawl line. This is literally a line of subdivision developments that are rapidly moving south.
I was through here maybe 2 months ago, and there are only maybe 6 houses in the neighborhood next door, and now there are hundreds. It moves fast, and it gets permitted really quickly. You really don't know it's happening, and then all of a sudden it just pops up.
Yeah.
There's a specific grove that I wanted to take Chad to while he was here. I photographed and painted it a couple of years ago because it was just so lush and green. This is a little bit of a fantasy grove nowadays. Conditions have changed.
Yeah. So this is the grove that you painted?
Yeah. And just a couple of years ago, this was beautiful. This is going to be 800 trailers and a couple of houses. Oh, wow. I originally picked this spot because it was just gorgeous. I was driving home from somewhere, and it was inspiring, and now it's gonna be trailers.
Disease and extreme weather have taken its toll on Florida's citrus. In 2004, the industry had over 7,000 citrus farms. Today, that number has dropped to just under 2,000. And as growers lose money in citrus, they sell off acreage to offset losses. For developers, this is prime land for subdivisions. So your paintings are really kind of documenting Polk County's history.
It's sort of the end of the citrus era.
As we stood by the roadside, we attracted the attention of a nearby neighbor. I asked her what she thought about the growth here in Polk County.
Unfortunately, it's not being thought out well enough, we think. We don't see things like the town center concept where you'd have a retail center with restaurants surrounded by housing where people would cluster around that. And so we see just more open space being taken down for what they call sprawl. They've been more distracted by the riches involved in, housing.
Your residents are calling you with issues and they're really concerned. And so I've been following through and trying to do what's best for my community.
In 2022, Blair and a small group of concerned residents fought to get a conservation property tax referendum on the ballot. Polk Forever, as it was called, would raise money for the purchase of environmentally valuable land.
We'd worked so hard, but we also were not professional politicians or lobbyists or anything, and we had very little funding.
Residents of Polk County voted 58% in favor.
Relief, I think, was the first thing that went through everyone's minds, and then a lot of excitement. It will raise somewhere around $7 million a year.
I got the mint chip.
That's me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Where did this need for Polk Forever come from?
It was spurred on by the huge amount of development that was going on. People sort of panicked and were like, oh no, now they're tearing up more land that we might not ever be able to get back, and we have no plan.
Florida literally pioneered the tool of local governments voting to tax themselves to produce money to buy conservation areas. It's an effective tool where local people can try to get out in front of growth and protect and purchase these areas before they're, consumed by urban sprawl.
As a mayor, what are people communicating to you about all that's going on here?
They're very concerned. They don't like the crowding that's already happening. I don't think anyone here is truly anti-growth. I think they're in reality about the situation. We just don't want to have a bunch of stuff built around us that doesn't fit with the character of this area.
What's at stake?
I think it's our whole lifestyle.
Growth will just keep moving this
It's going
way.
to keep going south.
As Florida continues to grow, we'll need more counties, cities, and ultimately citizens to stand up and take action.
When we started doing the referendum work, there were a couple of us that we just said we're going to do whatever it takes before we run out of time.
Our growth affects a lot of animals,
Where there's one right in front of us.
but there's one that's particularly vulnerable. I'm in North Florida at the Apalachicola Bluffs and Ravines Preserve with Brad O'Hanlon, a reptile and amphibian biologist.
Okay, so what do we have here, Brett? What is this thing?
So what we're going to be doing is checking out the underground habitat of a gopher tortoise burrow. And to do that, we have a camera right here, and we're going to get this camera down into the burrow. Can plug us right in.
Okay. Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
A window into a whole different world here.
Tortoise burrows are pretty impressive structures. Sometimes these burrows are linear, where they're a straight shot down and the tortoise can find somewhere happy to make that end chamber. Other times, there are corkscrews and lots of twists and turns in this underground environment. I'd estimate that we're about 35 to 40 feet inside the earth right now.
It's incredible.
And as we get to the end,
there he
check
is.
that out.
Oh my gosh.
Your tortoise at the end of the burrow.
At the very end. It's amazing to think that such a small animal has dug such a deep hole.
Over 300 animals and insects can use a tortoise burrow during parts of their life. During my time scoping, I've seen things like skunks, different birds, plenty of eastern diamondback rattlesnakes. You know, the list can go on and on.
Brad, why are these species threatened here in Florida?
The tortoises face a couple challenges here in Florida, the most of which is development. That's a really tough situation because lots of people are moving to Florida every single day.
Gopher tortoises, they live in the high and dry places where folks like to build their homes. And so all of our upland habitats are under pressure from conversion to development uses.
When land is cleared for development, most animals can run or fly away, but the slow-moving, burrow-digging gopher tortoise can't, so it has to be relocated.
That piece of land where houses are going to go, gopher tortoises are living there. I mean, we're talking about having to relocate those tortoises to places like this.
So we're setting up conservation areas throughout the state where tortoises are being relocated to, and that's really helpful because that will provide protection for the tortoises into the near future.
Relocating a gopher tortoise or multiple gopher tortoises from the site is a pretty involved process.
In 2021, Nearly 3,000 permits were issued to relocate over 17,000 tortoises. This high demand for relocation permits is up against a limited supply of protected land available for tortoise relocation.
We are going to continue to see habitat loss, and that's an impact to a number of different species, particularly the tortoise.
With relocation permit requests on the rise, how long can we keep this up before we run out of protected places to put them?
Important species to Florida.
Very important species to Florida.
My journey to understand our growth has me in Punta Gorda, attending a city planning conference. The audience is a mix of engineers, lawyers, city planners, and civilians gathered to hear speakers talk about challenges planning our future growth.
And this mic is live?
But I'm here to listen to one speaker in particular.
Okay. Can everyone hear me all right?
Jane West is the Policy and Planning Director for 1,000 Friends of Florida, a statewide advocacy group promoting sustainable development and smart growth.
Everything that we see in terms of Florida's existential threats stems from how we are developing this state. Florida has a growth problem. If we do not make paradigm-shifting changes in how we go about developing this state, the beauty of Florida is going to be lost forever.
How did we get here?
Yeah, it's such a tragedy because this is not what Floridians want. We got here because of bad bills and slowly dismantling what was once heralded as the best growth management act in the nation.
When the Growth Management Act was in effect, citizens had a lot of power at their disposal. Since the legislature has effectively dissolved the Growth Management Act, citizens have fewer options now to be able to challenge developers and object to developments.
The environmental impacts of sprawl development was a reoccurring theme in Jane's presentation.
Florida's biggest environmental threat, it's not air pollution, it's not toxic waste. What it is the conversion of raw land to sprawling development. One good way to visualize what sprawl is take a town and draw a circle around the outer edges of that town. You're going to have your business core, your hospitals, your post office, your schools, and you have that infrastructure take place within that circle. Anything that happens outside of that circle is sprawl. We have to encourage more infill development. We have to build up and not out.
You talked about legislation's not working, lobbying is not working. What is going to work in your opinion?
The only way we're going to save Florida is if we buy vulnerable land and put it into conservation in perpetuity. That, and we need to educate the public and the decision makers on what's happening so they can make more informed decisions.
We have 1,000 people moving to Florida every single day. That's a city the size of Orlando coming to Florida every single year. And growth isn't always a bad thing, but we have to protect our special places. What we save and what we pave in the next 10 years will determine the future of our state.
For people who have just gotten here and they're looking around, they're like, well, I see a lot of land around here. I don't really see what the big deal is.
We need those big swaths of land in order to sustain our existing population and certainly in order to accommodate any future growth. We cannot put a wall around the state of Florida. We cannot stop this growth.
Whose job is it to manage and oversee our growth as a state?
No one.
Because no one's doing that.
That's correct. Right now, I wish we could just put the pause button on the state of Florida so we could take our breath and not be constantly crushed by the incoming stream of development applications.
If you could tell everyone that lives in Florida one thing.
Pay attention. You have to get engaged. You can no longer afford to be apathetic about what is happening in your backyard. We are in a very vulnerable position right now, and we have got to make smart decisions about how we develop the state of Florida. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You did your talk, and then is it just on to the next?
This is what I do. I have to educate the Florida public, the decision makers. Yeah, just keep going.
One thing is clear, growth is coming. There's no stopping it. So how can we continue to benefit from growth without it transforming our state beyond recognition?
People do not move to the state of Florida to look at a subdivision. We have incredible natural resources, and that is why people come to the state of Florida.
It really is a race against time, and land will never be less expensive than it is now.
If we all decided to put the beauty and the health of our state at the forefront of our conversations about growth, then we'd all win.
I am scared and I worry a lot, but I also have an obligation to do the right thing. That's all there is to it.
Our growth affects, well, everything. And managing it will require fearless leadership from politicians, conservation groups, developers, city planners, and you. Because this is our paradise. And ultimately, it's up to us to protect it. Want to protect our paradise? Visit conservationfla.org.